Hi everybody, Christy Tracy here, and I wanted to do a quick review of the BiSaddle saddle that I've been using now for about 3 or 4 months. For those of you that don't know me, I am a Cat 1 bike racer in Austin, Texas. I specialize in time trials. I do a lot of really long distance, long time in the saddle stuff. My specialty is the 12-hour time trial. I'm actually the 2017 World 12-hour time trial champion. So I know a thing or two about spending a lot of hours in the saddle. And I've also recently gotten into gravel, and I really love the long races, like the 100 and 200 mile gravel stuff. I also do crits and road races, and I use the trainer. I am a big Zwift fan during the winter when it's cold and raining and nasty, so I have a bike set up on the trainer. So I got a BiSaddle to try out about 3 or 4 months ago. I actually fractured my pelvis back in August last year. And when I had about 8 weeks completely off the bike. And when I got back on the bike, it was only trainer time because I had to work on imbalances, work on the muscle atrophy, get my pedal stroke back and all that good stuff before I went out on the road and make sure my hip was completely healed. And one of the first problems that I had when I got back on the trainer is I found that my sit bones were getting super sore after a really short amount of time on the saddle that I'd been using for a long time. And I loved this saddle. I'd never had any issues with it before. But when I got back to riding after my hip fracture, I couldn't spend more than half an hour on the bike without a lot of sit bone pain on the trainer. So I started looking for other options. I thought initially, you know, maybe it was just the 8 weeks that I took off the bike and that I had to, my butt had to get acclimated to a bike saddle again. But it continued to be a problem even after a month back on the bike. And the longer that I spent in the saddle, the worse it got. So that's where BiSaddle came along. So this is the BiSaddle Shapeshifter saddle, and this is what it looks like. As you'll notice, it's a noseless saddle, so it's not very long, and it is very adjustable. So this is pretty much as narrow as it will get, but I've loosened up the bolts, and what you'll notice is you can widen the back of it or the front of it to any configuration of widths between the widest and the narrowest point. On both the front and the back. Also, you'll notice it comes automatically with a little bit, here I'm going to push it back together real quick. It comes automatically with a slight shape like this, but they send wedges with it. They send a set of wedges that looks like this. So I could put this in to make the saddle completely flat, or if I wanted a little bit more of a curve, I could put this wedge in and create more of a peak in the middle. So it's very adjustable to various different shapes and sizes, because as we all know, it's not a one saddle fits all kind of deal. So I've had a really hard time finding saddles. I had finally found one that worked for me, and like I said, after I broke my hip, it no longer worked for me. I now have this on my trainer bike that I have done a century on, and no problem, which is crazy. Like, think about this, a century on an indoor trainer. No saddle sores, no sit bone pain, no problems. I've got it on my gravel bike. I have raced and set course records on the BiSaddle, on my gravel bike, on 86, the longest I think I've done so far is an 86-mile gravel race, but it was awesome. I completely forgot that I had the saddle underneath of me, which is insane. Like, anybody that races gravel knows about halfway through the race, you feel it, like all that vibration. I've very rarely ridden gravel that I didn't finish the day with a saddle sore, because there's a lot of vibration and a lot of friction going on, and I haven't had a problem with the saddle sore at all using the saddle. I've also got it on my time trial bike, and that's the bike that I spend doing ultra race training on. So I ride 6, 7, 8 hour rides on a regular basis on the weekends, and I have the BiSaddle on there, no problems. And I have it on my road bike. So my training bike, I do road races and crits on it. The one thing that I will say is when you very first get it, you want to make sure that you give yourself 2 or 3 training rides to get it adjusted just right. So you want to measure your sit bones, or if you have a saddle that's been working fairly well for you, measure the width of that saddle and then try to match this up as close as you can and do a ride and see how you feel. And if you have a little bit of numbness, maybe open the front up a little bit. If you have a little bit of rubbing, then close the front back a little bit. But it'll take 2 or 3 rides to get it set just right. But once you have it set just right, you're gonna forget that it's underneath of you. It's amazing. So anyway, that's my review of the BiSaddle. I highly recommend it. And if you have any questions, you can reach me through Instagram direct message. I'm Texas Paleo Racer on Instagram. That's it. Thanks, guys. Bye.